Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's second video, doing European Outlook for today's second video. So as always, on a Thursday, we're having a look at the weather in detail for the next week, 10 days, UK and for the rest of Europe as well. And I shall get on with that for you very shortly. Just say that first video is our 7 AM upload. I've got a 10 to 14 there that will include all our regular features, and that's coming up for you later on this afternoon. Please like, share, subscribe on videos. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. Right, so we're going to start our situation across Europe today. High pressure is dominating across much of Central and Western Europe. We've got this big ridge of high pressure from Ireland extending all the way over towards the Black Sea. To the south of that, we've got relatively weak pressure through the Mediterranean, and to the north of that, we've got a deep area of low pressure to the north of Norway and Sweden. And that's bringing this strong westerly flow from the Norwegian Sea into Scandinavia and northeastern Europe. That's a pretty mild westerly flow, so southern parts of Scandinavia have actually turned very mild. Southern parts of Norway, Sweden, Denmark. A little bit further north, it is quite cold, of course, as you'd expect, but nowhere near as cold as it probably should be at this time of year, with those winds coming in from off the Atlantic. So pretty mild scene across northern Europe, actually. Most parts of Europe are under a ridge of high pressure, also are mild, but of course there it's a different type kind of air mass, because it's high pressure anticyclonic. It is colder on the surface, so although it's relatively mild aloft, there is a lot of frost going on across the central-west parts of Europe. And then down the eastern side of Europe, it does look quite cold from the Black Sea going down towards Turkey and also into parts of Greece. A lot of dry weather under that area of high pressure, so really from Western Europe, Ireland and Portugal, the far west, right way over towards the Black Sea. It's generally dry in many areas. More on south across Scandinavia, rain, sleet and snow pushing in there. Snow further north, of course, a little bit of rain further southwards away from mountainous areas. Some heavy showers and thunderstorms down here through the central part of the Mediterranean. Even into the eastern Med, it's largely dry. I have to go towards the Middle East to find some heavy rain and also snow in mountainous areas. But high pressure keeps many areas dry today. Coldest weather is in the East Europe, so the Balkans looking very cold over to the Black Sea and then up towards southern parts of Russia. Really cold across the southwest of Russia. Scandinavia, cold in northern parts. Generally quite mild, actually, further southwards. Nowhere near as cold as it should be at this time of year. Most western parts of Europe looking pretty mild, but again, bear in mind, there is variation with that frost and fog through these western parts of Europe, Germany, France, Low Countries, for example. Right into tomorrow, and high pressure again is dominating across the west of Europe, a push of colder air again sweeping southwards across the northern and northeastern parts of Europe. We see this on the upper air temperatures. We see that colder air begin to dig southwards through Scandinavia and northeastern Europe as well. So winter coming back in there with a vengeance on that very strong northerly to northwesterly wind. Elsewhere, western and central parts of Europe dominated by that mild area of high pressure. That means loads of dry weather with it to the vast majority of Europe. Actually, there will be snow across Norway and some snow showers through the northeastern part of Europe as well, pushing southwards in towards northern parts of Ukraine through the course of the day. Few heavy showers and thunderstorms down here off the north coast of Africa, but otherwise the emphasis is on dry weather in many areas. That cold air is digging back in across parts of Scandinavia and into far northeast of Europe. Pretty cold down the east side of Europe as well. Relatively mild out in the west of Europe. Saturday, we'll see the high pressure just begin to weaken a little bit as low pressure is trying to come in from off the Atlantic. It's generally quite a mild scene across most areas of Europe with that ridge of high pressure. Bear in mind that surface again will be colder from frost and fog under the high. Again, the northeast of Europe, we've got that cold air digging in from the north, so the upper air temperatures show the coldest weather is like through northern Scandinavia and going down in towards the far northeast of Europe and the northwest of Russia. Most other areas looking relatively mild with those upper air temperatures, but again, like to be frost and fog on the surface. Look at all that dry weather. We have a little bit of patchy rain in towards Ireland and the far west of Scotland. A few showers over on the east side of Europe. Wet weather, probably mostly snow in towards Norway. And there be exceptions though. Many areas looking dry on Saturday, and about big ridge of high pressure becoming ever colder though across northern Europe, so much as Scandinavia starting to turn bitterly cold, and that bitter cold air is sort of extending into the far northeastern of Europe and the far northwest of Russia. Under the high pressure, frost and fog definitely possible through many very central and western parts of Europe as well. But the proper cold, the true Arctic cold. It's like locked in to the very, very far northeast of Europe. Sunday, very little change, really. High pressure remaining one-truly in control across most western central parts of Europe. Another trough of low pressure digging in across Scandinavia, bringing another renewed and even colder push of air from the north. Look at all these cold upper air temperatures that are gathering in the Norwegian Sea, ready to pounce southwards into Scandinavia, northern parts of Europe. Actually, relatively mild across southern parts of Scandinavia again on Sunday, but that cold air is lurking. Otherwise, most other areas are relatively mild with both upper air temperatures. Again, it's a dry scene through most areas from Ireland and Portugal in the far west, the Black Sea in the east, and all areas in between. Looks pretty dry, I have to say. But the weather, the actual weather, is across northern parts of Europe where we have rain, sleet, and snow pushing through Scandinavia and in towards the far northeastern part of Europe. Temperature-wise, cold in the north and east, not as cold in the west, but as high pressure is in control, there will be ongoing risk of frost and fog. Now we go through to Monday, and that trough of low pressure is pushed southwards through Scandinavia into northeastern parts of Europe. That brings another push of very cold air southwards with it. Western Europe is under an area of high pressure, so all that cold air kept at bay to the far north and northeast. The upper air temperatures plummet across Scandinavia. Northeastern Europe, we bring very cold air down from the Arctic in the far north and northeast of Europe. Otherwise, showing most parts of Europe, southern Europe most bad, and up west side of Europe looking pretty mild with those upper air temperatures. So heavy snow pushing southwards through Scandinavia and heading south in towards east parts of Germany and Poland. Through the course of the day, northeastern Europe, Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania can expect some snow at times as well on those northerly winds. One or two showers breaking out from the central part of the Med, but a lot of dry weather through the Med. Some rain approaching the west coast of Spain and Portugal, and otherwise most areas are looking dry again on Monday. Very cold with the temperature across much of northern and northeast Europe, well below freezing. Up there, really bitterly cold. Otherwise, eastern parts of Europe quite cold. And Western Europe not as cold, but again, under high pressure, frost and fog concerns will continue. Into Tuesday, not really much change, except the coldest of that air from Scandinavia begins to get pushed in towards west of Russia, and something a little bit milder starts to get dragged up on these west-southwest winds from the Atlantic. Western and even into some central parts of Europe dominated again by the area of high pressure, which is going nowhere far. So those cold upper air temperatures are plunging southwards from Scandinavia and northeast Europe down the eastern side of Europe, sort of east Poland eastwards, really. So central east parts of Poland eastwards to the Black Sea. That's where the cold upper air temperatures are moving southwards. They're probably going to get into Greece later on next week. Meanwhile, out west again, the upper air temperatures keep things pretty mild a lot, but will be cold under the surface in the area of high pressure. Loads of dry weather through central west parts of Europe under that area of high pressure. Snow to Scandinavia and snow pushing southwards. A lot of it light, but snow pushing southwards across the eastern part of Europe as well. A few more showers breaking out through the central and eastern part of the Mediterranean as well. Look how cold it is across northern and eastern parts of Europe. Those cold temperatures are plummeting southwards down the eastern side of Europe. Western Europe nowhere near as cold, but under high pressure, frost and fog continues into Wednesday, and it's a case of rinse repeat, really, with high pressure dominating across most parts of Europe. Scandinavia's turning milder with winds in from the west. Those cold upper air temperatures have indeed pushed down in towards Greece and Turkey, so we may well start to see some snow turning up in Greece. Not on the islands, of course, but mountainous areas in particular will start to get some snow, I think, by the middle part of next week, which drives those of us in the west of Europe absolutely crazy, but like a bit of snow. Meanwhile, out west, the high pressure fest goes on, brings loads of dry weather through there. And you notice Scandinavia is beginning to pick up with the temperature as well, as the coldest of the upper air temperatures are receding away into western and northwestern parts of Europe. Heavy showers, longer spells of rain, maybe some sleet and snow mixed in this eastern part of the Mediterranean. That's sleet and snow for mountainous areas. Wet weather moving in from the Norwegian Sea towards Norway. Rain in the south, snow in the north and over mountainous areas. some snow there through from the Baltic Sea over towards the west of Russia. And then elsewhere, you know, it's just looking pretty dry again. And an area of high pressure. Look how those cold temperatures have plummeted southwards. So it looks very cold through the Balkans, for example, and even down into the eastern part of the Med looks really quite cold through Turkey. Looks very cold as well. It's not unusual for Turkey. You know, they do get it pretty cold away from the Mediterranean coast anyway. Northwards, yes, we've got very cold air through Russia, and that extends back in towards northern parts of Scandinavia. Anyway, Western Europe, that's where the mildest weather is, but with high pressure, let's re-emphasise it, there will be frost and fog concerns continuing. Another portion of low pressure into towards Scandinavia on Thursday might bring some cold air back in from the north again into the far north of Europe. Meanwhile, most central western parts of Europe, high pressure goes on. Upper air temperatures are beginning to pick up across the eastern part of Europe. Actually, we're losing because of those upper air temperatures. We're retreating back in towards Russia. Scandinavia, though, the temperature is probably getting a bit colder there. Otherwise, quite a mild scene with the upper air temperatures. Precipitation-wise, rain, sleet and snow across Scandinavia into northeast Europe. Some heavy showers to the southern part of Italy. Some very wet weather beginning to approach Portugal from the Azores. And otherwise, most areas are looking dry yet again. Cold air is digging back in across Scandinavia and also Norway, Sweden. Still very cold in the far northeast of Europe and northwest of Russia. Of course, not as cold through the east part of Europe, but still pretty chilly there. Mildest weather is in the west, and again down through the Mediterranean. I mean, I'll just run you on to day 10. So this is Friday next week, 21st of January. No real changes, really cold in the east and northeastern part of Europe. High pressure keeping things relatively mild out west, and then this Saturday 22nd to Sunday the 23rd, you guessed it, the high pressure fest goes on in the west, northern and eastern parts of Europe. Continue to get the coldest weather, and there will be periods of snow pushing through on winds oscillating between westerly mild Scandinavia and then go northerly, bringing a cold push of air and then back to west and so on. As we go through days 8, 9 and 10. So coldest in the north and northeast, mildest in the west, but under the high pressure there will be frost and fog possibilities. There's not really much else to say about it, to be honest. This is going to be a very, very tedious spell of weather, I think, through most parts of Western Europe in particular. But there we go. These winter highs, when they get going, they can last a very, very long time. So it's going to be one of those occasions where that happens. Of course, if this was like July rather than January, we would be facing a really hot month or so, probably under this persistent area of high pressure. But because it's January, it will be relatively chilly from a frost and fog perspective. But for true winter, that's like in the northeast of Europe. Anyway, that's European Outlook for this week. We'll do it all over again next week. Hopefully next week's will be a little bit more interesting and exciting. But there we go, I'll take the rough with smooth. So we'll be back shortly with your 10 to 14 day that will include all of the regular features. Come back for that then. For this week's European Outlook, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.